It was a quiet Saturday afternoon and I was taking notes while watching a video about how to YouTube, but it all started to sound very familiar. Maybe because it was the fifth or sixth one that day and they were all starting to blend together? No, it was because it was so similar to things I had learned about breeding horses. Let me explain. Hi, I'm Veronique. I've bred and raised foals for the last 20 years, and a few months ago I decided to pivot my little YouTube channel away from showcasing foals for sale to something a little bit different. So whether you're here to learn about the YouTube journey or hear about raising foals, in this video I want to share with you what my experience with breeding horses has taught me about creating on YouTube and how they are surprisingly similar. When I got started, I had a very clear idea in my mind of what it was I was trying to achieve by starting my small breeding farm. I knew what my objectives were and I knew what it looked like. It was all very clear in my head. I had figured out where I could best fit in this whole tapestry of the horse industry. I knew why I was doing it and I knew who I was breeding for. Now, I'm not saying that there's no other way to do this, but because I went into breeding with such a clear goal, when it came down to making decisions, there was always a guiding principle to help me make them. I knew why I needed to sell a mare or buy a new one, or how to select a stallion rather than another, or what to put on my website, when to invest in equipment even. One of the advice they give you on YouTube is that you need to have a very clear picture in your mind of why you're on YouTube and who you want to reach with your videos. The clearer you can be with that down to having a viewer avatar, the quicker you will succeed in reaching exactly the audience that you want. By the way, I'm still figuring this out, so if you like this video or the others where I talk about the technical, practical, and sometimes emotional side of raising foals as a boutique breeder, then please go ahead and hit the subscribe button. But I think it's very good advice. When you know exactly what your goals are, taking decision and making the things is a lot easier. The other thing that I knew theoretically, but I really came to realize when I started, was that with horses, everything takes a long time. I mean, mares are pregnant for 11 months. That's almost a whole year between the time you can confirm that your mare is pregnant to the moment that you get to see the foal for the first time. That's pretty insane, almost a whole year. But that is nothing because unless you're raising race horses or cutting horses, that little foal will not prove itself in terms of its athletic ability, its trainability, its behavior under pressure, its overall ability to do what it was bred to do for another 4, 5, 6 years maybe? It's crazy. Every time I think about it, I realize I should have gone into rabbits. I mean, they're ready to breed in just a few months. The idea to build a breeding program, a reputation, to get word of mouth, when you're breeding a few foals per year, like I was as a boutique breeder, it takes a while. There is no overnight success. So when I hear about how YouTube takes such a long time, that it's a marathon, you have to dedicate yourself for at least 2 years. Ha! I'm right then. That's good because 2 years? That's the blink of an eye. That's not a marathon. I get it. It takes a while for YouTube to figure things out. I'm in the thick of it right now, and I just started 6 months ago. In terms of horses, my foal is not even born yet. So yeah, I'm ready for the long term. One thing that I had heard and I came to realize pretty early on was that I was not going to get rich breeding and selling foals. The cost of starting out was so high and the expenses just that kept on coming. If you want to make a little fortune with horses, start with a big one. Buying land, buying mares, the price of feed, the veterinary costs, the stud fee, the medication. I wanted to do it right and provide the best care, and guess what? That takes money. I also had done my research and I knew that buyers don't really care what it costs to produce a foal. They pay for what they perceive the value is. The foal is not worth more because it took 3 tries to get its mother in foal or because the local drought has the price going through the roof that year. Sadly, it doesn't work that way. You do it because it fulfills some other need in you, just not a monetary one. If you listen to testimonies on YouTube about how YouTube impacted or improved YouTubers' lives, it's rarely because the money came rolling in. In fact, unless you have another business or another service to sell, or you get lucky with a wealthy sponsor that sells product that aligns really well with your topic or your values, what money you get from YouTube directly is actually quite small. So I certainly don't do it for the money. if there is another parallel for you, that's the one. If you're not doing it for the money, then what? Well, that's for you to decide, and you need to know that going in. These last three things I realized quite early on, like I said. This last one, however, took a bit longer, and I needed to relearn that lesson a couple of times. You see, when I started out and I saw other breeders and I visited their farm, and they told me that they were not really in control of things, that Mother Nature held most of the card, that horses get hurt and foals die. At the time, I kind of dismissed it because the people that were telling me this had questionable horsekeeping practices, let's say. I looked at how they did things and how they kept their horses, and the whole time I was thinking, yeah, I can see that because you're leaving hazard around for your horses to get hurt on. You don't supervise foaling. You don't look at the nutrition. Your mare's feet are not even trim. Those are some of the examples. But in my mind, I could do better than that. And so I did. I did everything I could to ensure that my horse were healthy, safe. I was on top of everything I could think of. And like they say, you do the best you can until you learn better. And so I did. I kept learning and improving things. But as it turns out, it still holds through with horses, animals in general. Really, you're not completely in charge. That doesn't mean you should be negligent or that I was. Nature sure reminds you regularly that she calls the shot. So when things go well, you have nature on your side and you feel like you're in control. And when things don't go well, you have a tendency to blame yourself. At least I did. When in reality, you have pretty much the same amount of control when things go well than when things don't. And it's pretty much the same thing with YouTube. You can make the video you think will be the best. You carefully plan your thumbnail and your title. You follow all the best practices and advice that you can find, and it might still be a flop because it didn't click with your audience, or the algorithm just didn't know what audience you actually was meaning this for. Or there was maybe some competition that was more established that just covered the same material. So sometimes it can even know some other random factor that you might never quite understand. So you do the best you can, you try to improve, but some things remain out of your control and you need to make peace with that. But the video you put together quickly, because good grief, it's already Sunday and you promised yourself you would publish every Monday, that one, for some mysterious reason, might just go viral. It's really a bit of a mystery, so if you find this video in any way interesting or valuable, please take a second to help the algorithm and hit the like button. Thank you.